Alright, so what we're going to do today, I want to show you how to do a rim and tire, and I'll show you another tool you can use to create your vehicle. It's not going to be the easiest way. The easiest way to make a vehicle is to choose something geometric so you can use more primitive shapes, filleting and chamfering edges, and making it piece by piece and putting it together. So I'm going to start off with the wheel because I think that's a little bit more universal if you want to make a car. So I'm going to go into a top view. I've got all my snaps turned on. I've got my ortho turned on. Make sure you're all set up with your units under, file settings, that kind of thing. So I'm going to start off at my 0 point with polyline. So select polyline, 0, enter. Go out this way 2, enter, click. Up this way 10, enter, click. This way 2, enter, click. And enter again to get out of the command. Then I'm going to offset at 0.25 this direction and draw a line to close this out. Enter brings up the same command and select it all, join it together. Then I'm going to draw a line from my midpoint here, this direction 2 inches, click, enter, this direction 0.5, and then I'm going to draw a line from here back to my midpoint there. Then I'm going to fillet with the radius of 0.25, enter, this to this, and we got to make sure for some reason our fillet didn't line up here. Click here, delete that. Fillet this, the radius of 0.25. Alright, well, then I won't fillet it if it's not going to line up the way I want it to. Trim this from this cutting blade to there. Fillet this from here to here, and do that one from there to there. And this time it worked because I trimmed that section out. And then I'm going to mirror from my midpoint here to here to have the same on both sides, and join it all together. Should have joined this one before I mirrored it, but I didn't. Okay, draw a line from this point here to that point there, and join. Shift click to add to the selection, join these together. Then offset one more time inward here, and do a line from this point to that point, this point to that point, and join all that together. So I'll go left to right, select all that, join, and now it's all one piece. This is all one piece. Then I'm going to draw a line from this end point here, this direction 2, enter, click, and then I've got a line there, and I'm going to start from my end point with another line and drive this way 18 inches for my wheel diameter. Delete that extra line, and then I'll go into perspective here, and we're going to use revolve and select this whole object. Go to my midpoint here, draw a line out this way. Start angle, I'm going to select it 0, enter, and then do 360, enter. And then I've got my section selected here, hit delete to get rid of that section. I don't need that. So, still got this line here, which is good. I'm going to use that as a guide for doing the spoke section. This part here will be the tire. This interior part will be the rim. This is my guideline for where I'm going to place my my spokes. So I'll go to a front view. And then I can, if I want to clean it up a little bit, I can hide the other shape that I'm not going to be using. I'll invert selection and hide objects. So I've just got my line here. Okay, so now I'm going to draw a circle from my midpoint on this line out with a diameter of 4 inches. Enter. And then I'm going to draw, then I'm going to offset this line, this direction 0.25, this direction 0.25. Click, delete that, and draw a line to cap these ends. I'm going to use this as a spoke. And this line shape, whatever you draw here, you can even stop it in the middle here. Sometimes that helps a little bit too. Trim. If you're just doing this basic shape, you don't have to do this, but if you want to draw something more extravagant, which I suggest, you can change the shape of this. You can even use the loft tool to create some cool shapes too. As a matter of fact, I think I'll... No, yeah, I'm just going to use this basic shape. Sorry. Make my tutorial go quicker. But if you want to do something detailed, this is the point where you do it. So, okay, let me show you now. I'll go to perspective here and join all this together. And then I'm going to do a extrude curve. And I'm going to do extrude curve tapered. And you'll see it tapers at a 45-degree angle if that's what you've selected. And if you change it to positive or negative, it'll switch the direction. So I can come this way until it almost comes to a point. And so it tapers it from all sides. So you do have a little bit of an angle here, which you may or may not want. If you don't want it, you can actually just move this whole thing, click out into the void, and start to drag it a little bit this way, so it'll go into the wheel well some. Okay, and then I'm going to extrude this one, tapered as well, the negative 45, and go this way about right there. And then I want to array polar from the midpoint center, find your center there, and select the number that you want. Maybe I'll do 20, enter, and then it's showing me a direction that I do not want that direction, so I'm in the wrong view because it'll go around that circle. So now I'm going to go back to a front view. Array polar, center, 20, enter, and now it's going the right direction. And then 360 degrees, and enter one more time. So you can see now I've got kind of a spoke pattern going on there. And I'm going to look at it in perspective. It looks pretty good. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to Boolean union them together. Let's see if that works. It didn't. And that's probably because these surfaces are right on top of each other. So if I click on this and move it, click out into the void, back just a little bit. You don't want it to peek out the front, but you do want it to overlap everywhere. And let's try Boolean unioning it together now. Still did not work. Yeah, that's what I thought. If I do them individually, for some reason that works. I think maybe it's because some of those were curves. But yeah, you get the idea. So you Boolean union all those together. I don't know. Let's see if it was because of the curves. I'm going to go ahead and come into this view here and try to just select the curves. Go to a right view. Should be able to do it there. Do it one at a time. Okay, so once you get that all Boolean union together, I can show my objects. And now you can see I've got a rim, a tire, and some spokes. And we'll copy that over later on. For right now, I'm going to put it on a separate layer. Call it wheel. And select the whole thing, right click, and move object to this layer. Okay, so change the color to associate with that. And then what I can do is I want to move this whole thing from my center point to 0. Just makes it easier to have right on that line. And then what I want to do is draw a line from 0 this direction 98 inches. Click. 98 inches is a good rule of thumb for the wheelbase, or the distance between wheels. So now I can copy this whole thing over. 98 inches. Click. Enter and escape. So now I've got the wheelbase for my car. I can start working on the actual vehicle. So I'll go to a top view and type in layer and turn off my wheels, and know that if I draw a rectangle with about 98 inches by 6 feet, it would give me kind of my wheelbase for my overall vehicle. Now I want to actually explode this, offset this about, let me turn my grid snap on. Each one of those is a foot, so if I go about 4 feet, right there, 4 foot, enter, click, and then I'll do the same back here. That could be the front end of my car. So I want to show you now a more complicated way of making a kind of a curvy vehicle. So I'll kind of trace out a bit of the outline of the car that I want. Turn off my snaps. Starting in a top view here, I'm going to just turn off my ortho too. And that's where my wheels are, so I'm going to kind of curve the front end of the car out around the wheels. And so I'm just clicking and kind of moving the mouse around to create this shape. And you can create a more accurate shape if you choose to. I mean, you should create a more accurate shape. And I can turn my control points on and kind of push and pull things where I want them to be a little bit more. And if you had an actual car that you wanted to trace, I mean, that's probably the best way to do it. And you could insert it through picture frame. And let's see. Let's see all my downloads. Yeah, I thought I had a Toyota Camry in here, but I don't. Anyway, so you can import an image, like, for example, I'll just import this brick, and we'll pretend like it's the car, and so then you import it that way, and you can trace it. Okay, but I'm just want to show you this tool, so it doesn't really matter what I'm doing here. So I'm going to go back to a front view, turn this front view into a perspective view, so you can see I've got that curvy line. If I want to now I turn off my control points, and I'll copy this shape up, and again you could start by tracing it from the front if you want. Turn my ortho back on, turn my grid snap ortho on, okay, and maybe 30 inches. I don't know for sure if that's right, but it's right enough for now. Okay, so now if I were to turn my control points back on, I can, from my front view, kind of pull these shapes around a little bit. Turn control points on here. Kind of lift that up a section there. Maybe lift this up here, curve point. And I'm just going to close it off. So you'd probably need to do more points, more sections, you know, like think about fenders, doing those separately, doing, you know, your turn my control points off. No, line. Yeah, so do everything pretty much separate. Turn my snaps back on. And there are lots of tutorials online that will show you how to make this work. Making sure that my snaps are on for more detailed views, but just wanted to kind of show you what we can do pretty simply here. So now I'm going to use my new tool called Network Surface, and this will turn any four lines into a surface. So if I click on this, then this, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, enter, then go OK, and you can see how you can make kind of curvy shapes and blend them together by using multiples. So then I'll go to a top view and mirror this over, midpoint here to there, enter. Back to my perspective view. And you could start doing more lines on this curve. So if I go from here to there, and then here to there, and network surface, click, 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 enter, enter. You can see I'm starting to create a object that has some shape to it. And you can clean it up, and there's different ways of making sure that the objects are looking the way you want. Turn control points on, and I can edit the amount of control points too. Anyway, so let's go ahead and let's do another network surface. Click here, click here, click here, click here, enter, enter. And then do the same. And I don't know why this isn't exactly the same, but the good news is we can mirror this one over. Oops. And go to a top view. Oh, I see why it's not working out. My line isn't straight. Now let's look at it in perspective. Okay. Network surface. Now top view. Mirror. You can see where it's pretty complicated. I can fillet surface, you know, to kind of start to form it a little bit more. You can blend surfaces. You can trim surfaces. You can do a lot of things with these surfaces. Let's look at it in shaded or rendered. Let's bring back our tires. So you can see I got the wheels in there and that kind of thing. So it's fun to play with, but it can be a little bit challenging. So, having your lines drawn perfectly comes into play here. You can do a lot of the line work in Illustrator actually and bring it in if you're more comfortable with that. But again, you can also make more boxy cars and stuff like that. So there's lots of tutorials on how to actually use this technique to make any kind of curvy car. So I'd recommend watching those if you want to use this network surface to draw something specific. All right, so otherwise, using primitive shapes and the skills you already have, you should be able to make anything from a tank to RV or simple objects like that. Thank you very much.